Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds.
Hello, good morning. It is the start of Anne of the Island, which is the third book in the Anne of Green Gables series. And I have already read chapter 1. It is so comforting to be back with this book. I did take a little break between books 2 and 3 because I really wanted to read Nona the Ninth, which is a totally different book than the Anne of Green Gables books are, but I'm really excited to be back into it. I feel like I need the sort of relaxation back in my life, the comfort. So yeah, it's starting. It is time to be getting into that. We are into October. I don't know. I think it probably was like the 1st of October when I said goodbye in the last vlog, but we are into October, which fall I think I think every season is perfect for these books, but I think spring and fall are the best. And I'm just really excited to really luxuriate in this. I really want to get through 3 and 4 fairly quickly. I don't mind carrying the series into winter, but I think the sooner, I should finish it this year, basically. So that's kind of my goal. Anne of the Island, here we go. Really excited to be into this. This might be my favorite cover. I just love how she's looking and the landscape, and I'm assuming that's Gilbert back there, and I'm really excited. And I'm also really excited to see Anne kind of out of her element. She's not gonna be at Green Gables anymore. This is, the last book talked a lot about change and upcoming change, but this book is the change actually happening, and I'm nervous because of how I loved the talk of change and how that resonated with me from book 2, but I'm nervous to see how the change actually happens and how that affects me, because I have a new job or new position at my job and just have had a lot of change lately. So we'll see. Hopefully I find it as comforting as book 2 was. I really don't want to move, but there's a lot of unfortunate angles here, so you'll have to put up with me. Anne of the Island. I am actually just past the halfway point, and I haven't talked a lot about it, partly because I've been doing the little challenge vlog, which we'll post before this one, so you'll definitely be seeing that before this goes up. It's only vlogging time I've been doing there, but I do want to talk about it. It is a very different book from books 1 and 2, and even on reflection, books 1 and 2 are very different books from each other. Book 1 is almost like a moral tale. Book 2 was a quirky, small town, charming story. This one is a lot more serious. Anne is a lot older. She's at college. A lot of the book takes place with her at college. And there are more serious things happening. It's resonating with me in a very different way. I think for me, like, I went to college and then had a lot of the changes that came in, like, book 2 that Anne deals with, like, just life changes. Whereas, I mean, she's definitely dealing with some stuff in here that's more mature, right? That didn't happen to me in college or anything, but like, it's almost like a reverse order of how I had, like, big life events. This one is a lot sadder than either of the other ones. There's a character we've known since book 1 who is very young and passes away in this book. And I was reading the passage where she's telling Anne that she's just, like, afraid, not necessarily afraid to die, but just, like, not ready for what comes next. And this whole passage was so full of genuine grief, and I was like, when I think about it, I get really teary about it because it is just so much. And there's a lot of heavy, somber moments in this one. There's a lot of not reflecting on love, but there's a lot of sort of getting ready for that kind of stage in your life, because Gilbert's interested in Anne, but Anne just isn't really interested in a relationship right now. There's a lot of, well, you know, actually, I would argue this is the theme of the book. It's aging out of home and sort of becoming an independent person. Not that Anne is not independent before this book, but she's away at college. She's renting a house with some friends, which I love the scene where they get the house. Like, that is a dream. Okay. But she's renting a house. She's not at Green Gables. And every time the book takes her back to Green Gables, she's basically confronted with the fact that things are changing without her. The world there is moving on, and she's not a part of that world anymore. And she's actually lonely. She finds herself really missing Patty's place, which is the house she's been living in. And, you know, there's just a lot of this moving away from your childhood home. And which, like, I live at my home still. I live with my parents still. So I haven't, like, experienced that directly, but I went away to college, and I even studied abroad. So I was away from home. And there's this definitely just, like, break between you and your home when you're away like that. And something I was, you know, I'm bouncing a little further out of the book than the book has taken me. I don't know if it's going to cover this, but there's her really yearning for Patty's place and the atmosphere there. And I will read you this section that actually made me think it. Anne, despite her love and loyalty to Green Gables, could not help thinking longingly of Patty's place. Its cozy open fire, Aunt Jimsina's mirthful eyes, the 3 cats, the merry chatter of the girls, the pleasantness of Friday evenings when college friends dropped in to talk of grave and gay. I know I'm, like, emotionally jumping past that and knowing it is, when you have that, you know, that's the college atmosphere, and you leave that eventually. And that's a very hard transition to make. And it's a very heartbreaking transition to make, comparing that to my own experience of having a really tight-knit friend group at college. And I'm still close to them, but, you know, we're not in the same place anymore. We're not even in the same state. And knowing Anne is going to have, like, a similar experience, I don't know, like, it's sort of breaking my heart a little bit. So this is definitely like a much more mature book than either of the other two. I think that number 2 so far has been my favorite and might very well stay my favorite for the foreseeable future, just because I enjoyed it so much. Like, it was like the perfect book for when I read it. But I am enjoying it. I'm curious to see if all of the books in the series kind of take different tonal shifts. Maybe. I know I've heard the last one, I think it's Rilla of Ingleside. Yeah. Rilla of Ingleside is, I have heard, the darkest. And it deals with Anne's youngest daughter, Rilla. And I think one of the world wars has started. I don't know which one, because like time and me, I couldn't like track it. But I don't know if the others are all going to have like major tonal shifts as well. So we'll see. I am really enjoying it. I've been able to just sit here. The house is like quiet except the breeze that you can hear. And the dog and I are just kind of cozied up. He's sleeping right now. Yeah. Okay, an update. I am more than halfway. I'm nearly done, I think. I have not even 100 because there's like extra stuff in these editions. That's all I have left. Oh, I'm so close to done. And I wasn't expecting to like break my heart over this book, but I am. My heart is absolutely breaking over this book because of Anne and Gilbert, and just, I know there must be a happy ending. I just don't know how it's going to get there, and I have a lot of emotions and feelings. And yeah, it is probably, like, I think I've said this in the last time I talked about it, but I think it's the most emotional of all the books. In the first book, obviously we do get a death of a character at the end. I don't think there are any funerals in book 2, but I could be wrong. And while that is sad, it is treated very differently, I think, because of how young Anne is in book 1 versus now. She's an adult. I think she just turned 20, and the way that death is treated from that mindset is very different. And they're both sad moments, but this one just hits closer to home and is a lot more thorough and in-depth. And then also the heartache and love in this one is a lot more intense and just true to life, I feel. But I'm loving it. I don't know if I'm going to finish it today. Maybe. I kind of want to try, but I can't guarantee it because I do have other things I want to get done today. But Anne of the Island, still not surpassing book 2, because the first part is just like so kind of not as interesting. But if the ending of this like continues on and just it's like absolute emotions, it might have a chance of beating out book number 2 as favorite. I am also on my 3rd highlighter of this book, so we're on the final highlighter of this book, guys, and I'm running out of highlighters, so I'm going to have to buy some. Probably do that Monday if I don't forget. Start number 4, Anne of Windy Willows, and it feels a little frightening because this is Anne in like a completely new place and point of her life. I'm really excited, but really nervous. Yeah, I don't know how much I'll get done reading tonight because I am going, so my mom and I are going to go see David Sedaris is local for the night. He's at like a local-ish place. If you don't, he's pretty funny. He's a humorist. I enjoy him. So we're gonna go see him, and then it's probably gonna be fairly late when I get home, so I don't know if I'll get like much reading done. And I do kind of want to watch, I started watching Young Royals on Netflix, and I have like 25 minutes left in an episode, and I do kind of want to finish that tonight. But we're gonna do a little bit of reading before I leave, and I am gonna take the book with me because I'm sure there will be time to wait and do nothing, and I'd rather read than be on my phone. I think that's always like a lofty goal. I don't know if I'll actually do that. Hi. Update, I guess. I haven't really updated on Anne number 4, Anne of Windy Poplars, because I haven't really read it. Frankly, not super enjoying this one. I think it's because so much of it is like, it has been letters, which is fine, but it feels like it is just kept Anne away from other characters we've come to know and love. Like, even when she's writing to Gilbert, like, we don't know anything else. There also just aren't super many quirky, fun characters. And I'm not even finding myself attached to like Rebecca Dew or the aunts on Spooks Lane. And there's some like warm, comforting, good advice, wholesomeness kind of missing from this one. And I think it's because so much of it is the letters and Anne just like recounting things rather than us being there experiencing the things with Anne. So that's why I haven't updated, because I'm just not super enjoying it. And it's gonna be a slow, rough read probably for the rest of this book, unfortunately. This one has been borderline excruciating. I do have something kind to say about it, but I don't have the energy right now, and it has made me so unmotivated to read it. Like, every time I like sit down with a book, I'm like, time to read. So that's not great. This one is just like lacking a lot of the magic of the first 3. So I hope this is not a sign of things to come for how many left? 4 of them. Hi. Please ignore the fan. I've been saying that a lot in videos lately. I've probably said it in this video. Let me explain why the fan has been on so much real quick. And that is because with the holidays, family members that I live with have been taking a lot of time off, and you can just hear them in the background. There's no real exciting reason. That's just why. And to kind of, because I don't really have any time alone right now, and probably not for the foreseeable future, which is so exciting and great for my mental health. The fan will be on in the background. I'm pretty sure you can hear me. So let's talk about Anne of Windy Poplars, the book that is making me a little bit regret wanting to read all of these this year, because I am not enjoying this one at all, really. There are small moments. I am going to talk about some of the small moments, but so much of this book has been a drag and has been hard to even convince myself to pick up most days. I've not felt this way about any of the Anne books until this one is just killing me, and I really hope this is the only one that does this to me. I think, like I said, in large part it's because of how many letters there were at the beginning, but I was hoping now that even though there are still some letters, I was hoping now we would get to pull away and maybe see what's going on with some other characters, but no, not really. We have one scene really at Green Gables, and the reason I like that scene is not even the Green Gables stuff, because characters that we've known and loved just are barely present on this page. The only regular presence is Anne, and I love Anne, but when she's surrounded by the characters in these pages, she feels like she is just disappearing and is such a less interesting character. Really disliking this one on every level. That being said, I want to say a couple nice things about it, and hopefully I can remember the kind of symbol I left in the marking. Here we go. So I am in part 2, the second year, which so far is definitely better than part 1, but still not enough to make me like, yes, excited to read it. But in chapter 2, she is with Lewis, who's another teacher at the school, and I actually really like the Lewis little man story in this. I will say that as like a positive thing. I was shocked at one particular moment, which I don't want to spoil, but I did have a shock, and I did really like how that whole plot line kind of worked and turned out, and I liked some of the, I don't want to say revelations, but like character beats that happened there for these side characters. But in the beginning of chapter 2, as this sort of plot is picking up, Anne says, "Isn't a road an interesting thing, Lewis? Not a straight road, but one with ends and kinks around which anything of beauty and surprise may be lurking. I've always loved bends in the road." And I really am a huge fan of this metaphor of bends in the road and the way that Anne reacts to it. I've been a fan of it since the first reading vlog, and I think it started coming up thematically in the text in book 2, although if you really think about it, the bend in the road really does happen even in book 1. She comes on the road with Matthew. That's pretty much basically our first impression of her, is this ride down the road with Matthew, and she's just like talking his ear off, and I think that is really this really great like motif kind of carried through all the work, so I do really like that. And I do like she also brings up bend in the roads and roads later with Catherine, who's the other teacher at the school and who for a lot of the book just does not like Anne. Another thing I really like that was just really personal because I can relate to it 100%. This is part of that Lewis plot line. So this is just in chapter 3, and actually chapter 3 has been my favorite chapter so far. I just kind of highlighted the top there so I could find it again if I ever wanted to just relive that, but I don't know if I ever would. But they're talking to little fellow's father. Gosh, what is his name? Mr. Armstrong. So they're talking to Mr. Armstrong, and he is just talking about someone who he can't see anymore. And he says, "I can't recall a face. I can't see faces as most folks can in their mind." And I really liked that because I don't know if I've talked about it a lot on here, and maybe I have, but I can't, or I have a very, very difficult time seeing like pictures, and so like faces and like images in my head. I just can't when I'm reading. I don't really see what's happening on the page. I like to say it's like I get vibes, and I think that's like the case, but I think a more accurate description is I get a really good sense of the emotion and the energy coming off of characters and scenes and locations, but I don't see things, and I can like force myself, but it has to be something that I probably already have some sort of framework for, having seen in real life, and I can't keep that up. It has to be like a really active work. So I just really liked that in this book we have a character who kind of like admits to the same thing, and I don't know, I just really like that. I liked connecting with that. I don't think I've ever seen that on page. I don't feel like it's the most important thing that I need to be seeing that on page, but it was just a nice little like, oh hey, yeah, me too. But then the other really positive, or I shouldn't say positive, but the other thing I have nice to say about this book at this point is Catherine. I fear I'm a little too much like Catherine in real life, but I really do love her character. I think she's really great, I really do love her character. I feel like there is a lot to her, that she is almost like a perfect foil for Anne in a lot of ways. I think there are really great ways to read her subtextually. And not that I ever really probably plan on returning to this book in particular, because I just cannot stand it. But if I had to in an academic sense, I think that Catherine would be a really interesting character to pick apart. I'm not going to do that because, like I said, I'm really hating this book. But I did really like this passage where Catherine is talking to Anne and just kind of confessing how she feels about things. And she says, "Oh, you can't understand. You seem to live in a little enchanted circle of beauty and romance. As for me, I've forgotten how to live. No, I never knew how. I'm like a creature caught in a trap. I can never get out, and it seems to me that somebody is always poking sticks at me through the bars." I feel that sometimes. I'm not going to say I walk around feeling it all the time like poor Catherine has been. She's definitely had a difficult life, but I definitely feel that a lot of times it's something I can really relate to. And I also feel like she's the first character to really directly confront Anne. And yes, Anne has a lot of positives in her life because of her attitude and because of who she is as a person. She wasn't, raised in it. She was an orphan. She had a lot of struggle and hardship, and it was how she looked at that struggle and hardship that made her a good person and made her this sort of light, right? And I don't think you can say she's born into it or lucked into it necessarily, but I will also say that Catherine is the first person, I think, to confront Anne with the idea that she has a lot of things other people just don't have, and would crave and do crave, and Catherine herself wishes she had this sort of life. And I think as a reader looking in at Anne, yes, she has had a lot of really positive turns, and she's definitely got that main character symptoms where it's not everything works out for her necessarily, but in a way kind of everything does. When bad things happen, they wrap up. And a lot of it is because of Anne's ingenuity and her personality. But we do also, I think it would be unfair to say that she wasn't surrounded by good people and a good place. She lives in a beautiful location for most of her childhood. She's surrounded by really good influences for most of her childhood. She is a very talented and smart student and writer, and she has the right kind of personality to really put her in just good scenarios. So Anne is very lucky in a lot of ways, and I really liked that we have a character finally kind of bringing that to her attention, basically, just because I think it's interesting and kind of for Anne to kind of maybe get that reminded to her. That's the update for now. If I can just read 50 pages today, I would feel so pleased. I don't think I've read 50 pages of this book in a single day at any point while reading this book. It has been so hard to just want to pick up. It has been such a struggle. It has been such a struggle, and I just need to be moving on. Good gosh. Anne of Windy Poplars update. I wanted to finish this book so badly and have it done by tomorrow, or by today actually, but I still have 30 pages, so not done yet, unfortunately. A couple things. Let's talk about it. I've been marking in this edition, actually decently doing a good job of marking where I wanted to talk about things, so I'm really proud of that. That's a silver lining, right? Okay, this is the first one. This is in chapter 10. Oh, I just thought this was such a savage burn. And this whole Hazel Mar story, I was this is fucking hilarious. But the whole thing is because you would mean what you said no matter how you expressed it, and Hazel Mar doesn't. She's nothing but skim milk pretending to be cream. Burn, Rebecca, do burn. Damn. So I just had to mention that. Oh my God, that's hilarious and so funny. I am so close to being done, and I think I've got to finish it tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and if I do not finish it before lunch, I'm going to be so frustrated with myself because I cannot. I have to be done with it. The next thing I want to talk about is in chapter 3 of part 3. So by the way, this is really far. So I haven't been really tagging spoilers because I feel like I give you like advance warning when I'm talking about like a scene, but like, and also I feel like it's a really hard series to spoil, partly because it's so old, but partly because it's just so episodic. Anne is like babysitting these 2 absolutely horrible demon children, and like, God bless her, I guess, but there's this a super fucking disturbing scene, and I need to share it with you because it, like, I was reading at work, I was horrified. Basically, this girl named Ivy like comes to Gerald and Geraldine, they're the kids, and she's like, Gerald, I love you, you're gonna be my beau. And he's like, no, I won't. And Geraldine's like, no. And basically they come to the conclusion that they need to like attack Ivy. Let's do it, squealed Geraldine. They pounced like furies on the unfortunate Ivy, who kicked and shrieked and tried to bite, but was no match for the 2 of them. Together they hauled her across the yard and into the woodshed where her howls cannot be heard. Hurry, gasped Geraldine, for Miss Shirley comes out. No time was to be lost. Gerald held Ivy's legs while Geraldine held her wrist with one hand and tore off her hair bow and shoulder bows and sash with the other. Let's paint her legs, shouted Gerald, his eyes falling on a couple of cans of paint left there by some workmen the previous week. I'll hold her and you paint her. Ivy shrieked vainly in despair. Her stockings were pulled down, and in a few moments her legs were adorned with white stripes of red and green paint. In the process, a good deal of the paint got spattered over her embroidered dress and new boots. As a finishing touch, they filled her curls with burrs. She was a pitiful sight when they finally released her. The twins howled mirthfully as they looked at her. Long weeks of air and condescensions from Ivy had been avenged. Like, it's not on the scale of like horrible things that could have happened, the most horrible, but for a book with so little of that kind of scene in it, this did not come off as like funny or quirky. This is just like brutal and horrifying, and I was clutching my pearls. I was shocked by it and just like so disturbed. It's very fucked up. It's the most Stephen King thing to happen in this book, in any Anne book that I've read at this point. And I think this is the last little bit. Yeah, the last one I wanted to talk about. It's just this really nice quote. You know, I love the nature imagery, and this one has been sorely lacking in that. But there is still a little bit of it, and here is one that I really enjoyed, and this is from chapter 5. Yeah, chapter 5. There should be fairy dances on the hills tonight. But Gilbert, dear, moonlight is with no one to share it is just moonshine. And I guess it's not directly a like nature quote, but I feel like it falls into that category. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's again trying to find things to talk about. I think there is a lot you could talk about with this book. But I cannot give it the time. I just need to be done with it, and I need to move on to the next Anne book, which I'll tell you now in case I forget. I have kind of in between Anne books been reading like new releases or books that I'm like super excited for. Sometimes it overlaps with the audiobook I'm reading, and in that case I just continue on with like an Anne book. But I'm going to be taking like an actual break from Anne because I just cannot. It's not going to be a long break. It's just going to be 2 books. And one of them for sure is going to be The Swimming Pool Library by Alan Hollinghurst, which is a book I've wanted to read for a while. And I think the other book will be Enchantment of Ravens, which is really short. So it will not be a long break. I will pick up again soon. I just need the distance because this has put me in such a bad state for this series. And I want to love it like it deserves because they are, for the most part, really good books. And I loved number 2, and I really enjoyed lots of number 3. But this one is just freaking killing me. Yeah, and I'm so tired of like carting it around with me. I need to move on. So that's the update. Hopefully the update tomorrow will be that I finished it. We're fingers crossed, really hoping that's what the update is. It's done. It's over. I don't need to be suffering over this book anymore. It's not like the worst book I've read. I'm probably gonna give it 3 stars. It was just so difficult to get through, and I'm just so pleased to be done with it. And like I said, I'm gonna take that break. I don't have anything to wrap up, because it was just such a frustrating read. I felt so disconnected from everything I loved about these books. Towards the end, it got a little better, especially the Tom Gallen stuff was hilarious, and I liked Elizabeth's ending a lot. And I mean, there were like moments, but it was such a frustrating read. And it's frustrating that it was frustrating because I liked the first 3 so much. Here's the bend in the spine, if you're curious. 3 highlighters for this one. It's kind of the tradition now, I think. Yeah, this is it. This is the wrap up. Nothing else to say about this one. Taking a break, small break. You probably won't even notice it because it takes me forever to edit these. And then we'll be back with books 5 and 6. So it did hit, that was the halfway point of the series, which hopefully the next 4 are more akin to the first 3. I'm excited for the next one because it's the first one where Gilbert and Blythe will be married. So that's really exciting. Thank you for being here. Thanks for watching. If you're somewhere cold, I hope you're staying warm. If you're somewhere warm, I hope you're staying comfortable. Most of all, I hope you're reading a great book. I will see you guys next time. Bye.